Mr. Enzo Cervini, it's indeed an honor to be able to interview you here in this forum. Welcome to the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy. Drawing from your curriculum, you are deeply committed to the fight for prevention of genocide and mass atrocities. In your opinion, what is one of the most effective tools to achieve that goal? And on what level, national, subnational or supranational, should they be implemented?
Well, thank you for having me here today. And reflecting on the prevention of genocide, I do think that one of the most effective tools that we need to empower is the power of prevention of genocide. What we have today is the capacity at the level of the international community to persecute individuals that have been committed genocide and other mass atrocities. But the fight here is today at the level of, I would say, also local, national, regional and international level. Of course, being a professor of international law, I would always start from the top to down approach, but actually is the bottom up approach that works better. In particular, when we have a local community that actually understands the power of prevention, then we have the capacity also at the national level to get prevention empowered. And in this sense, I think that then the regional organization, and in particular the sub-regional organization we are working a lot with in Africa, for example, are able to empower the capacity of genocide prevention, especially dealing with policies. I mean, we have a very particular issue regarding the capacity to empower long-term prevention, which is the one that is needed, and in a world that is always demanding for achievements in a short term. Actually, prevention is in a way contradicting the whole factor. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My question would be, what do you think are the improvements brought by the Kampala Convention that took place only on the 6th of December this year?
Well, let me say that on the 6th of December we have with Swaziland that joined the Kampala Convention. We had the adoption of the convention on the internally displaced persons. I think that for instance, this is the first most effective regional convention of the African Union that is actually in a way responding to one of the major needs that Africa has today, that is the internally displaced people. And the whole factor actually brings us to the prevention of genocide again, because one of the basic structures and theories based on the responsibility to protect is actually based on a theory of the responsibility of the state, and actually the link between sovereignty and responsibility that was drafted by Francis Deng, and at the time he was, or just after that, he became the special representative of the UN for the internally displaced persons, and I think that while drafting his role and those papers that brought first to the guiding principles for the IDPs and then to the Kampala Convention, we have there inherited the capacity of actually looking forward at the prevention of genocide.
Can I just get a follow-up question? You talked about the African Union. Even though they said that the African Union, compared to the OAU, was moving from respect of sovereignty to even responsibility to protect a little bit, like from non-interference to a bit of more interference. But a lot of people said that the African Union failed to react. For example, in in Libya, and also before in other conflicts. Do you think that the African Union has the power to become stronger in those areas?
Look, I think that the African Union is actually an effective and efficient, maybe organization. I think that Article 4H is actually the big innovation of the African Union regarding those specific crimes, and the capacity of the African Union actually to intervene in situations where mass atrocities are occurring. But I would say that the African Union might become more effective as soon and as much we are going to be able to devote time and attention to the capacities not just of the African Union but of the sub-regional organization like the International Conference on the Great Lakes region or exactly or the West countries or SADC in the South that are sub-regional organizations that were meant to be economic-based organization, but that have developed their own capacities of also of prevention, which is, I mean, in ECOWAS we have ECOWARN, that is one of the most advanced capacities of early warning, which is, I would say, one of the top priorities for Africa at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question will be on a complete different matters. And in fact, you worked with the Hungarian government as well as in Italy and in various multinational organizations and with the EU. Would you therefore describe yourself as part of the new European generation? And what does this signify for you?
I have this very European background. I was so lucky to actually go to the European school while in high school, and then to be in university, first in Belgium and then in Italy as well. I do think that I'm part of this Euro dimension of a new society that actually is growing, and my experiences in various governments have shown and demonstrated actually that Europe is able and capable of hosting youth experts, no matter what their nationality is, and just for the profit of the policies that actually a certain country wants to empower, depending on the speciality that you have. And so I do think that this is just possible thanks to the European Union, and of course, I mean, would have been much more difficult. I wouldn't say impossible, but much more difficult if we didn't construct ourselves into this new era.
So a lot of people say there's a discrepancy between people having a European identity and how the institutional setting is. So how do you think could create and sustain such a European generation, and how could the European states or the European Union be more active to help that?
Look, here I see a major challenge. One of the first challenges that we have in terms of the capacities of the European institutions to be more active into generating consensus on the level of the youth is actually to empower the European Union to be youth. Sometimes the bureaucracy or also the bureaucracy at the level of member states, and one of the things that actually is maybe not really coping with the fact of youth being willing to be Europeans is that they lack of indicators on how the European Union is effective in its own scope, and the point is that as that we work inside the scenes or behind the scenes, sometimes depending on our level of work, we actually understand that the European Union is one of the most effective things that we ever had in our lives, and especially, I mean, I would say that behind the criticism, I think that the Nobel Prize for Peace, I think, is one of the recognitions that the European Union needed, but not just because we want to be naive, but we want to be sincere in the fact that we are living in a peaceful dimension, and that by I mean, in my work, we are always traveling to countries that are affected by conflict, and we are actually clashing ourselves with the fact that we are not really accustomed to that dimension, because for us is completely over, and the fact that we don't have to pay visas, or that we it might be very simple things, but they are the practical things that make our life better in our daily life. And in that, I think that we need to have an European Union that is much more proactive in actually making people understand how effective it is to be inside the European Union, and at the same time we need member states in a way to show to their own population that by being inside the European Union is not just about economic bureaucracy that blocks our capacity of growth, but that instead is the leverage of our own economic power. Thank you.
Thank you very much.